Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Full Sport Press. I am Peyton,
I am Zach.
and we are ready to start off this week. Go over a little bit of what happened last week. Let's start with the best things we saw. I'll go first. And, this one is maybe not for everyone, but for me and Zach, it
For
especially
us.
hits close to home.
Oh,
Um, as many of you may know, or many of you may not know, Louisville has been absolutely horrible this year.
very
Um,
bad.
they've won before last week. They had won one ACC game, I believe, and yeah. So anyway, Saturday they play Clemson, and if you don't know, me and Zach are big Clemson haters because we are South Carolina fans.
Boo Clemson. Boo Dabo. Boo everything about it.
So we are, yeah, exactly what Zach said. And they played Louisville on Saturday at Louisville. And keep in mind, this Louisville team was like 3-20 something coming into this
Yeah.
game, and the stadium was packed out,
Rocking.
rocking. And
That goes to show you that the hate for Clemson is worldwide. It's
they,
nationwide. And I love it.
and
Ah,
I got to tell you, I love that Louisville fans are still standing by, even though this horrid season that
it's really bad.
yeah, yeah, and they're up 8 with 5 seconds. They get a turnover from Clemson.
Yes.
And the Louisville player runs down the court and with a second left on the clock does a
Mm-hmm.
360 dunk to give him the
As he
10-point
should.
win.
As he
Just to
should.
just to kind of put the nail in the coffin, really show Clemson what just happened to him. And it was beautiful. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
I'm really upset that I can't think about a ball joke right now, considering one of the Clemson players' stories
Oh
from
yeah,
this
yeah.
season. But man, that was just a great thing to see. When I saw it and sent it to you on Twitter, I was like, oh, this is everything we've dreamed of right here.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, what I saw was Mac McClung's dunks. Wow.
They were pretty good.
They were pretty good. He wasn't kidding when he said he was working on two that had never been done before. And he got them first try, which is crazy.
Which I mean, he was kind of known for his dunks coming into the league and beforehand, but I mean,
Yeah.
still to do it in the dunk contest, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
is just extra special.
That and like when this dunk contest roster came out, everybody hated it because they're like,
Yeah,
who are like nobody knows these people. It's
yeah,
not our usual cast. But it was a pretty good one. I mean, Mac got two perfect scores and then he was up against somebody else who had like a 49.5 or something. So
yeah.
they did pretty good.
All right, you want to just go ahead and go right in the NBA with since
Yeah,
we're going ahead and
that's
talking
what I
about.
was thinking. Um yeah, I didn't watch any All-Star weekend except for Matt McClung's dunks.
I
It
kept
did
up with it on
happen.
Twitter, and
It happened.
yeah,
My boy Tyrese was in the game. He's a pacer, so we love that. Um, yeah, I Jason Tatum dropped 55 points, which was a
yeah.
record.
From what I saw on Twitter, it wasn't much of a watch.
No,
I saw a picture, just a still, and it was a one-on-one, and the rest of the players on the court were just standing to the side watching,
oh yeah,
not playing defense, not trying to get open. They were just watching the two go
yeah.
one-on-one in the middle of the game. So I guess it's fun in that aspect, but as far as like me personally, I would rather just watch them play for real.
So let me ask this question, which is going to be said every year, and I'm just going to keep it going. Should they make the All-Star game in the NBA like the MLB, where whatever side wins gets to have home court advantage in the
Yeah, I mean,
playoffs?
there is that incentive, but would it? I don't even know if it would matter that much. I mean, some of them probably would care more, but I can't see them going all out still. Like I think at the end of the day, the All Star Weekend is just kind of supposed to be like a fun break thing.
Yeah,
So I mean, I still think it wouldn't be like an all out game like we want it to be. It would be
yeah,
cool, maybe a little bit more trying, but I don't know if it would really matter that much. I think just keep
makes
it how it
sense.
is, just kind
Yeah,
of fun game that's gonna be 200 to 200 or whatever.
yeah.
uh,
Well, NBA All Star. I'll see you here in Indy next year.
oh, there you go.
Woo! I want to try to go to something. I don't know
I
how
know,
much
like
it
I'm
all
pretty
is.
sure, like the dunk contest 3 point. I'm pretty sure that's the most expensive thing.
Really?
I would assume because
I'd be happy just going to the game, honestly.
I go to the
I just
celebrity
want to go to,
games.
since it's here, I want to go to something.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not? That's what I moved here for. In other NBA news, nothing too crazy happened. It was a short week because they had the All-Star break. But today, officially, Russell Westbrook is going to the Clippers. I think it would be kind of hilarious if somehow the Clippers and the Lakers met in the playoffs and the Clippers ended up winning.
That would be
And
funny.
Russ did it himself.
I'm pulling for that, honestly.
Oh yeah.
I don't mind Russ. He gets a lot of hate, but
Yeah, he does.
um I
I
hope he
love
does
Kawhi too.
well. I mean, and Paul George is with him too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So reunited, Russell Westbrook and Paul George.
Yep. I mean, that's really all
Yeah.
for NBA. You want to do college football next?
Yeah, let's do a little college football. So,
Yeah.
some breaking news out of college football today. I guess breaking news, man. It's a little rule change.
I mean, it could be big.
Yeah.
Two of them could be big.
Do you want to explain them?
Oh yeah, you were going with it, so I was like, oh, you're just gonna go? Okay, so there are 4 clock rule changes being proposed and kind of discussed amongst the college football people. 2 of them are pretty controversial, and the other 2 are not. So we'll go over the non-controversial ones first. One is prohibiting consecutive timeouts for a team. So let's say you got South Carolina versus Clemson. South Carolina takes a timeout. Maybe not be able to take another timeout after that, unless I guess Clemson takes one. Kind of it's what they do in the NFL.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Which I think that's a fine rule.
Yes, that's why it's not. Yeah, this is one that needs to happen. The other one is no longer extending a first or third quarter for an untimed down if the quarter ends on a defensive penalty. So right now, how it works in every quarter of college football, if there is a defensive penalty when the clock is at 0, there's 1 extra down added so that the offensive team can have that play back, basically. So what this would be doing would just be eliminating that for the first and the third quarters. It makes sense to keep it for the second and fourth because you can't end the half or end the game on that. But for the first and third, we can just go into the next one.
Yeah.
Now, the controversial ones, and I'm ready to discuss these a little bit. Let me find it. Where is it at? Alrighty. So, for one, the clock will continue to run after first downs and on incomplete passes.
Okay, I knew the first down one. I didn't see the incompletion thing. That's pretty interesting. Now, I don't know how that would really. Okay, so spikes are just kind of like at that point. Is this would it be at all times in the game?
Yeah, that's as far as I know.
I'm not sure how I feel about the incomplete thing. First downs are fine
that's
because
weird.
that's like NFL. But incomplete. I mean, at that point, the 2-minute drill is like becoming near impossible if you're not just like if you don't have all 3 timeouts or because like there is no way to stop the clock besides going out of bounds at that point. So like that's just unless there's some other part of the rule they're going to add to it where it's like 2-minute warn like after the 2 minutes or something, then it stops it. I don't know. Like I feel like they got to have something like that if they're going to do that.
Yeah, all it says here is, let's see, in a third proposal that is garnering wide support, the clock will continue to run after an offense gains a first down, except for inside 2 minutes and a half.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense, I think.
So yeah, that's the third one, and then it says in a more controversial fourth proposal, the clock will continue to run after an incomplete pass once the ball is spotted for play.
So that would basically be like it'd be like a first down now, is what the incomplete pass would turn into. So it's not horrible.
Yes.
Um,
It's not. It's all in an effort to speed games up. My cat is knocking, so I need to let her in.
As far as speeding games up, I don't even know. Like, I didn't feel like college football games were really lasting too long. I mean, but that's just me. I enjoy watching the games. I'm never really like this needs to hurry up and get over with. So maybe that's me, but like I don't feel like this was needed. Like baseball with their rules, those were needed. Baseball games were lasting way too long, and the way baseball games move, they needed to speed it up somehow. This situation, I'm not sure if it's necessary. I don't mind the rule about first downs. I think that's fine. It's like the NFL. It'll be okay. The incompletion one is a little interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is because the NFL doesn't even do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, really. So
But hey,
we'll see, I guess.
I mean, I like changes at least to try them because I mean, worst comes to worst, we try it for a year and hate it, and we go back to it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, so yeah,
All right, moving
time for some
on
soccer.
to soccer. So we got 3 different leagues to talk about today, not just the Premier League, adding a little
Mm-mm.
diversity in. We're going to start in the Champions League as the knockout rounds started last week, and we started with a couple of okay matches. We had Milan and Tottenham. Milan won 1-0, and then the big one was PSG versus Bayern, and Bayern first leg. Keep in mind there are 2 legs, one at each home stadium. So this is just the first one. They will have another one.
Yeah,
Um, Bayern won 1-0 against PSG. So that is going to be an interesting match to watch the second one because that was at PSG. So they're going to Bayern for the second round, and that'll be in a few weeks. But that could be a huge. That would be a huge match. I mean, 2 giants, the German giants, the
yeah.
French giants, and then on Wednesday, Dortmund beats Chelsea 1-0, and Benfica beats Brugge 2-0. Now, Dortmund beating Chelsea 1-0. Chelsea kind of carries their struggles over from the Premier League, not being able to score. I don't, like I said, I think I said this last week. I don't know what's going on. They've spent an absurd amount of money and yet are still not able to score or win matches. And then this
Yeah.
week, big one for me and you, Zach. Tuesday, we got Liverpool versus Real Madrid. Now, if you asked me about this match 2 weeks ago, I would have said it's going to be horrid. But Liverpool has looked promising in the last couple matches. Beat why am I blanking? Who did they play on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't. I watched it too, or at least
Who in the
some of
world
it.
did they play?
They played a team,
They did play a team. It was
and it was a soccer
it was a
team.
solid team. I feel like because I was kind of scared about the match going into it. Newcastle, who's in the top 4.
Ah,
And has had a great year. And they scored 2 goals at the very beginning. Then Newcastle's goalie pulled off probably the stupidest move I've ever seen in my entire life, and handballed the ball way outside and got a red card, and basically kind of ruined the match for Newcastle. Even though Liverpool didn't look good, but that being said, they beat Everton, they beat Newcastle last week on a 2-game win streak. Are they finally putting it together? Let's hope so. Or Real Madrid will definitely
hey,
be destroying us.
Gakpo though.
Gakpo, 2 games in a row with a
Got a goal.
goal. He's finally
Yeah.
settling in, maybe. And then on Wednesday, Manchester City plays RB Leipzig, which could be a good game. But yeah, just kind of getting into the knockout rounds. If you want to watch some interesting soccer where they're going to be going all out, those would be some good matches. And then going on to the Premier League, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my match or my game of the week from last week because it needs to be talked about with the standings. So going into last week, my game of the week was Manchester City versus Arsenal. And it was a great match. Manchester City won 3-1. Now, that being said, you think, oh, that sets up Man City to take over the top of the league eventually. Then we get to the weekend. Arsenal starts off losing in the 90th minute. They're losing 2-1 or 2-2. 2-2 was tied. Sorry. 2-2 was tied in the 90th minute. And somehow they win the match 4-2. They scored twice in extra time to win the match 4-2, to kind of keep their title races alive, we thought, because Manchester City's right on their tail. Then we get to later in the day, and Man City draws with Nottingham Forest. Now, how in the world that happens, I don't know. That's just like you think once Man City beats Wednesday, Arsenal, they got a little momentum. They're like, oh, we can challenge for the title. And then they tied Nottingham, and we're back at square one with those 2 teams. Arsenal still has their big lead, and Man City's got a lot to do to catch up. And one other notable match, I thought, Chelsea, who we were just talking about, lost 1-0 to bottom of the league Southampton. So it's when I say it's rough over there, it's super rough. All right, transitioning into a new league we've yet to talk about, and the league I haven't been a fan of before, but I'm trying this year because they've done some things I'm a big fan of, and that is the MLS. Now, in
Ooh.
in previous years, I was kind of a soccer snob. I would only watch Europeans, but we're gonna go into the MLS this year, and I think what I really love about the MLS is they are definitely upgrading their marketing. I don't know if you've seen the Apple season pass that they're doing.
Mm-mm.
So MLS season pass, if you have Apple TV, it's $80 for the whole year. If you don't, it's $100 for the whole year. And you get every single match, no blackouts, no nothing. Every single match you can watch.
Good.
And they have a bunch of programming. Like they have a 4 or 5 minute video on each team about their traditions. They have season preview for every team. They have all kind of content on there that's like, if you don't know anything about the MLS, like it will teach you about teams, it will teach you about players, which I was like
Yeah.
really impressed with because I don't know a ton about the MLS. I haven't watched it. And now I've been watching some of the stuff to kind of get caught up, and it is pretty cool, I will say. And $80 for the whole season, that's not a bad deal. I mean, you get every single match. Um, I really think a lot of leagues could learn from that. And like if you're an upcoming league like the PLL, Premier League Lacrosse, they could definitely do that, and I feel like get a lot more fans if you're easily able to watch every single match. And even like NBA, like NBA's season
Yeah.
pass isn't, it still has the blackouts and everything. Like blackouts, that doesn't help anyone, I feel like. But
No.
the opening weekend of the MLS starts this weekend. I will be watching the Charlotte FC match for sure, and tuning into a few others that I might seem interesting and see what's going on this year in the MLS. What about you, Zach? You gonna tune into any of those?
Probably not. But I will say the last week a big announcement was made for Indy's soccer
Yeah,
team here. They're opening a whole, I mean, not just a new stadium, but a whole new like complex. And I believe it's all a push to try to get into the MLS. So and I think that'll be open by
yeah.
2025. So once that happens, yeah, I'll be tuning
With
in.
that
I'll be
being
an Indy
said,
11
though,
fan.
I
But
feel like another thing that the MLS needs to do, which I've said to you before, Zach,
mhm.
they have to.
I think every sports league
I
needs to
agree,
do this
honestly, but
personally.
starting with the
But
MLS because it makes the most sense as other soccer leagues do this. A promotion
mhm.
relegation system would do wonders because
Yep.
that means local teams like Charleston Battery, where I am, or the indie team like you are,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily have to pay their way into the MLS. They play good enough in their leagues,
Nope.
they make their way up, and they could end up in the MLS.
Mhm.
And it could do wonders for those teams. Like if you get the revenue of an MLS team and you're in a small town, then you're back in the big leagues and you can compete. But I just think it's so fun for everybody to feel like they have a chance of getting up to a next league, or it adds an extra incentive. It's not just you stink, you're done for the
Yeah.
year. Like when you stink in a soccer
Yes.
league, you
Uh-huh.
have to keep playing because if not, you're going to get
Uh-huh.
moved down to the lower league. And there's just so much more at stake when you watch these other leagues, which I think makes it way more interesting. And that's what the MLS is really
Yeah.
missing.
I mean, think about that for the NFL. You don't have a team like the Jets who's
Yeah,
tanking,
exactly. Exactly.
or stuff like you can't, or you're going to be taken to the XFL.
It would be crazy.
It'll
Yeah.
never happen. It would never happen because people are too money
Yeah.
hungry. But man, it
The
would be
only one that
great.
has a
The
chance of,
MLS
yeah,
absolutely
that's the
should do
one that
it.
has a chance of it. And it
Yeah.
has, I feel like if you really wanted soccer to grow in America, especially the MLS, that's what you got to do. All
Mhm.
right. I believe we are moving on
Alrighty.
to college basketball. I'm not sure what that theme song was,
All
but
right.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, let's start with UCL. Actually, yeah. We're going to start with two things. One, I'm going to read off very quickly. 2 days ago, or I guess that's when this tweet was tweeted, the committee bum, 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 released their current top 16 teams for March Madness. So our should I go 4-1?
Yes.
Ascending order? Okay, thank you. Our 4 seeds right now are Xavier, Gonzaga, Marquette, and Indiana. Our 3 seeds are K-State, Iowa State, Virginia, and Tennessee. Our 2 seeds are UCLA, Baylor, Arizona, and Texas. And our 1 seeds are Kansas, Purdue, Houston, and 1 overall, Alabama.
There's not too much
How we
argument
feeling?
a bit about it right now. I feel like, but I feel like there's going to be a bunch of movement. Tennessee, I feel like has to be falling. I mean, they just
Mm-hmm.
haven't been playing well. I don't think you can justify them at
Mm-hmm.
a what was it, a 3 seed, right? I don't know if you can justify that
Yes,
anymore.
the top 3
So
seed.
yeah, definitely. I wouldn't you say for like at least drop to a 4 seed?
I just don't get them. They completely manhandle Alabama. The score does not show it, but their defense against Alabama was
It was.
insane.
Well, see, that's what's crazy. Yeah,
And then lose to
they lose to
Kentucky.
Kentucky. It's just that's the thing with them.
It's
It's
crazy.
impossible to tell
Yeah,
what's going on, and
yeah.
I that's why I feel like you do have to move them down. Do they have the potential to
Mm-hmm.
beat anybody? Yes, but they also have
Yeah,
some horrible losses, and yeah, I don't know. It's just all the seeding. I feel like is tough. Um,
yeah.
oh,
I think it's.
good,
Do you have another?
good, yeah,
I was gonna just. Okay. I think it's funny that you talk about people arguing and that sort of thing because UCLA's coach Mick Cronin would have some words
oh
for the
really?
committee with UCLA's ranking. So, like I said, UCLA is the last 2 seed. They're the 8th best team in the tournament, according to this. But yet, they were ranked number 4 last week. I don't know where they are now. I didn't see the new one.
Let's see if I can keep going. I'll
Are they
find it.
still up there? But basically, he came out and said, here's his quote. If you ask if you ask my one-word answer of that ranking, comical. I'm going to try not to laugh. So he is very upset that his team is a 2 seed and the last 2 seed, but yet his team is ranked
Yeah,
4th
and
in
they
the
still
country.
are ranked
Now
number
here's
4.
okay. Here's what I think is happening because it's a conversation every year. It's one that I hear from my basketball podcasts I listen to. Basically, if you're in the Pac-12, West Coast Conference, Mountain West usually, you're just kind of screwed. People aren't staying up to watch your games. One, because you're not really that fun to watch, not fun enough to stay up that. It's hard for me to stay up to 9 to watch IU play,
Yeah,
you know? So nobody's staying up to watch Pac-12 after dark, which translates to the committee, and they're going to rate you lower because they're not seeing you.
which I agree wholeheartedly.
So
I haven't watched any of them.
all I can say is, yeah, all I can say is UCLA is one of the teams moving to the Big Ten, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be fine then. Just give it a
Now
couple years.
wow, that's actually gonna
That's gonna be
that one and the
it's gonna
Houston
be
moving
crazy.
to the Big 12. Those basketball impacts are gonna be crazy.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, as far as the new AP poll, Houston back to number 1 as
Yeah.
expected after Alabama's loss. Kansas up to 3, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
well deserved after. Hold on, there's a video going on ESPN. There we go.
Nice.
So I feel like after that win against Baylor, Kansas, I feel like Kansas is the team to beat now, in my opinion. Even though they're number 3,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they could be the best team overall.
Yeah.
Just the way they with them, they're never out of the game. They were at halftime of that game. Twitter was going crazy about how Baylor. No one wants to see Baylor in the tournament, and then Kansas comes out and blows them out in the second half. It was completely wild to watch because everybody was all on
Yeah.
Baylor is the team now, and then Kansas comes in the second half and destroys that narrative. And I think that really does put them at the top, in my opinion. Houston, I don't know. They don't play enough teams for me to know, really.
I mean, you say Baylor's at the top, but then you also have Texas, who's still there. And still they're dropping games, but they're still winning games, and they are, as we're gonna talk about in a minute, tied for the lead in the Big 12 right now.
Let's jump into our conference standings.
Oh boy.
What's
This
yeah,
is crazy.
I feel like there is every conference with some kind of close at the top between teams.
Let me pull up my notes so I can go league by league. But yeah, starting off the first one I know I put on here,
Yeah.
the ASUN. We're not going to talk about every league just because they don't all matter, but these are some that could have a chance to do something in the tournament. Maybe not win the whole thing, but get far. So yeah, let's start with the
So
ASUN.
ASUN is number one
Right.
Kennesaw and
Go ahead.
tied Liberty. So it would be between those two teams
Yep.
unless one of them like majorly collapses. But both of them
Yep.
are great at home and okay on the road, as most teams are this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think both of them could win it at this point because I mean they are tied. Do either of them play each other, or do they play each other?
That's what I'm looking up.
Do not.
They do not.
So that one will.
Who won?
I mean, at the end of the day, these standings don't really matter too much because as that's one of the problems, or not problems, but one of the things about college basketball. You can be in the mid-major level. You can be the best team in the conference, and if you happen to lose in that conference tournament, you're just out. Like there's nothing you can do
Mm-hmm.
about it. That's just how the landscape is. So like this, even these teams that are like dominating their conference right now, if they lose in that conference tournament, their odds of making the NCAA tournament are very slim.
Yeah, but it still does matter because your record in the regular season is what gives you the
Yeah.
seeding for the conference tournament. So, like, if you're Liberty and you come in second, that's going to give you, I mean, Central Arkansas State or Central Arkansas here, which isn't that big of a deal. But in some leagues like the Big 12, that could be
Right.
a massive, massive thing. All right, skipping on down to the A10, we have a three-way race right now. VCU is in the lead. They are 11-3 in the conference, and then right behind you've got the Dayton Flyers and Saint
Yeah.
St.
So
Louis, both
yeah,
one game behind.
that another one that will come down to the very end of the season. And I think an interesting
Yep.
part of the Atlantic 10 this year, the bottom team is Loyola Chicago. The Cinderella team has fallen hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
And
have.
then we have the
They're fun.
ACC, and that one's just
Oh
that one's
boy.
impossible to tell. I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Virginia is not as good as people think they might be. They've gotten lucky at home a
Yeah.
lot with close games. And going into the tournament, I'm gonna call it early exit for them. Maybe I just don't. I don't think they're as good
Mm.
as people think. I mean, they almost lost. They should have lost on a buzzer beater to Notre Dame if that guy hits a wide open three. Just listen to these last couple games.
Yeah.
Beat Notre Dame by 2 at home. Go to Louisville, win by 3, and then
Yep.
they lost to Duke.
Yep.
Now, the record book may not say they lost to Duke, but they lost to Duke, in my mind.
Jesus.
But, I
Uh-huh.
mean, they're a team that I'm not convinced is as good as people think they are. But Miami,
No, I
I
don't
think
think they are.
could make a run. So that as far as winning the conference, I think Virginia will probably close it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're the best team
Yeah.
in the conference.
But even then, Miami could still drop one or two, and then you've
Yep.
got Pitt right
Yep.
there, who's only a game behind. I mean, this one is crazy. I don't think Clemson can
No.
make it back
Yeah.
up 2 games. So I would say it's a race between those three, really between Virginia and Miami. But man, that's
And
gonna be a fun
then,
one. Now let's
yep,
talk about
the
the
Big
real
12.
fun one, the Big 12. So you have right now number 3 Kansas and number 8 Texas, both tied for the lead at 10-4 in the conference. You've got Baylor, who is a game back, and then you've got K-State 2 games back, as well as Iowa State. I don't know what's going to happen in
That
this one.
this is the conference that I wouldn't be surprised if any team on this list wins the conference tournament. Like I could see
Yeah.
Texas Tech making a run and winning. Like they've been beating a lot of good teams recently. Like it's just like another
Mm-hmm.
case of like who's good or are we just all mediocre? I don't know. I feel like probably
Yep.
Kansas will finish off this one and pull away because Texas has
Yeah.
a tough game coming up this week, which we'll talk about later. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think Kansas will finish it off, but it will be interesting to watch considering the last game on Kansas and Texas's schedule is a meetup between the two teams. On March 4th, you got at Texas. Kansas will be coming, so that could be deciding the entire conference right there.
But see, even in this tournament, Oklahoma, if they show up and can shoot, they could
Yeah.
get a big team out. Press Virginia. if you don't show up against that team, you're gonna cry your
Yeah,
way out of
really.
that stadium. I mean, Texas Tech, they know how to shoot the ball. Oklahoma State, they can. It's just crazy. All these teams, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ranked teams right now.
I mean, that's just insane. And it's a 10-team
Yeah.
conference. So over half the conference is ranked.
Yep.
I mean, that's just
Yep.
wild. All right, moving
Jeez.
on to the
Yeah.
Big East. And this is a crazy battle. We got
Crazy one.
Marquette at 13-3, and then Xavier, Providence, and Creighton all at 12-4. And man,
Yep. Only one
Tuesday,
game back.
I believe it's Tuesday, will be a big day as Creighton and Marquette face off. So if Creighton wins that,
Creighton's kind of coming
if
back.
Creighton
a
wins
bit.
that, then Marquette is no longer in sole position, and it's going to be a battle till the end of the season.
Oh boy,
it will be,
this
and
is so much fun to
talk
look
about
at.
another conference tournament that will be interesting. And I think especially once we start seeing these teams play on neutral sites, it'll really start to open or answer some questions because you no longer have home court advantage.
I mean, that's all. Yeah, that's the only thing we're going to be able to look at is these conference tournaments. That's what when I'm making my bracket, I'm going to look at how they did in their conference tournament. That's the only thing.
It's
because there's no home court advantage there. And it seems like that has been the determining factor of most of these games.
Yep.
Alrighty. Speaking of other crazy conferences, the Big Ten.
Yeah, where in the world did Northwestern come from? I feel like they just exploded out of nowhere. Lord. And
yes. They may have had some help from the refs, according to people I work with, but yeah, they've come out of nowhere. Because for the entire season, it's been Purdue and Indiana, and then all of a sudden, Northwestern's right here. Yeah, Purdue is in the lead. Northwestern is in second, a game and a half behind. So Purdue probably takes it.
Yeah,
I would imagine they've got a big game this weekend, which we'll talk about later.
And see, on Northwestern's remaining schedule, you got at Illinois, at Maryland, at Rutgers, and those are not easy games. Those are good teams. Good teams on the road. And so I could easily see them dropping 2 out of 3 on, if not all 3. So I do feel like Purdue will finish that one off, just because of that schedule. And I think Indiana, it would take a miracle for Indiana to catch up at this point. So
no, it would.
All right, moving on. Who's next?
The Big West. Here you just got UC Irvine, the Anteaters. We have some really cool surfing anteater merch at homefieldapparel.com. Just saying. Sponsor us, Connor. And the game behind is UC Santa Barbara Gauchos. They have their little hats. But yeah, I don't know anything about either of these teams, but it's a close race.
And I can't say we can offer much insight. But if you need some games to watch and you see either of those teams playing, there you go. And then moving on to the CAA, this one is close to home for me. We got Hofstra in first place, but half a game back, the College of Charleston. And I think I read on Twitter actually earlier that if Hofstra wins their next game, they clinch at least a share of the whole thing. Yeah. Now, Towson is on the schedule next for Charleston on Thursday. Towson is a good team. And I don't think Hofstra has a tough matchup, if I remember correctly. So it is possible Hofstra walks away with they have Northeastern, which has been a rough team this year. So the real question will be here again is I don't think either of them are good enough for at large. So it will come down to the conference championship. And I think both of them honestly could be. It's just the way the committee is now. It's just they're gonna put in the power conferences teams over a good mid-major probably.
Yeah. But these, it's just tough, and it's back and forth because I've seen so many like bracketology type things where some have Charleston in, and others have Hofstra in. So it's just nobody knows who's going to come out on top of that conference. I really hope it's Charleston. Yeah. That would be really cool to see, and that would give me a team to pull for. In the tournament. But
All right,
Yeah,
moving
we'll have to
on
see.
to the Conference USA.
What's up next?
And I'm not going to lie, this is kind of surprising.
Yep.
I didn't realize it was this close. We got FAU, who I knew they were the top. They're at
Yeah.
14-2. But right behind them is North Texas at 14-3. I did not realize North Texas was that good. I knew UAB had a good team,
Yeah. The
but I
Mean
was not aware of
Green.
North Texas. They do not play each
Mm-hmm.
other the rest of the season, sadly. I think looking at Florida Atlantic's schedule, I can easily see them winning out and taking control, but it is one to
Yeah.
watch.
All right. Next up, almost through these, we got the Horizon League. This one's really just between Youngstown State and Cleveland State. I know Cleveland State has made it recently. I don't know if Youngstown
Yeah, I
has,
think they
though.
have actually. I remember seeing them
Trying
in
to
the
think. They
bracket.
have? But yeah, Cleveland State is only a game behind, so all it takes is one win and a loss for Youngstown State. This is also the conference with IUPUI in it, who won their first conference game like 3 weeks ago.
And
So that's
then we
nice.
have the Ivy League, and this one is a great battle. Yale, Princeton, and Penn
Yeah.
all at
Yeah.
8-4. I mean, that is going to be an interesting into the season. Hopefully they play each other. Yale plays neither of them, sadly. But man,
Damn.
that all 8-4 with 2 games left, I believe, on all their schedules. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's just great about once you get to this time of the season. Like every game is that important. You cannot take your foot off the
Mm-hmm.
gas at all. Oh, and ending the season, Princeton plays
No.
Penn, so that could end up being for the top of the league. All right.
Oh man, fun. All right, next up is the MAC, the Mid American Conference. If you don't know about MACs, then you're not living. Kent State and Toledo are both tied at the top, 12-2, and then you got Akron just a game behind at 11-3.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we got the Mountain West, which I think San Diego State is up a game on Boise, and I think they will win this. I've watched San Diego State a couple times this season, and they have a good team. I think they'll finish off the season strong, win the Mountain West, and honestly, a team to watch out for in the tournament because they are ranked. But I watched them in the Maui earlier this year, and they had some good games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's one that we
Yep.
won't watch because
I got
it's
a
too
bedtime,
late at
people.
night, but it's there. If you're a night owl, it's all for you. Speaking of another night owl conference, we have the Pac-12. This one I was kind of surprised by because I think I knew UCLA was at the top, but I didn't realize that Arizona, who was in second,
Yeah.
is a whole game and a half behind. I figured maybe a game, but a game and a half,
Let me tell you,
that's big.
the schedule makers
So
knew what they were doing this season. Our last game of the season for both these teams are each other. So, I mean,
beautiful. So yeah, if UCLA drops one and Arizona wins out up to that UCLA
let me
game,
tell you, March
that
4th
could be a
is
big
going to
one.
be a must-watch day for college basketball. All right, next
Yeah,
we have
it
the
is.
SEC, and you're thinking, oh, Alabama, Tennessee, right? Wrong. Alabama and
Wrong.
Texas A&M are a game apart. Don't ask us how. We don't know.
Crazy.
Texas A&M
Crazy.
somehow is 12-2 in the conference, but they do have they haven't really played the good teams yet. The best teams. They played Missouri, which they beat. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now, in their next 4 games, they play Tennessee Tuesday, and then the last game of the season they play Alabama. So that will be the 2 games that really determine is Texas A&M actually good.
Where do they
have both of
play
those games
for
at home.
Tennessee?
So Texas A&M's not out of it. I mean, both home games.
No, they're not. Home, dude. If
That would be
A&M
insanity.
wins this conference, that would be insane.
And then,
oh my god,
yeah, last one.
And then lastly, we got the other conference that we'll never see, the West Coast Conference. And again, you'd probably be thinking, why are we talking about this? Gonzaga. Wrong again. Gotcha.
Yep.
They are in second place, but ranked lower than the team ahead of them, St. Mary's Gales. They're only a game back. St. Mary's has kind of been running the table this year in the West Coast Conference from what I've seen. So
It
I
was
think
overtime.
their only loss is
overtime to LMU.
LMU, right?
and you'll
Yeah.
never guess it.
So
The last game of the
do either of
season
them
for both of
do
these
they
teams
play
is
each
each
other?
other, and it's this Saturday
Yes.
at 10 o'clock.
Oh yes. Okay.
Tickets
See,
as
what
low
is
as
at least it's on
$800 a
Saturday.
piece. In case you were here. I'm serious.
Are you
For Gonzaga
serious?
and St. Mary's, it'll cost you about $800.
Yikes. Wow. Well, before we leave this topic, I do want to jump back to the SEC and give you this stat for Alabama, who is now known as a basketball school and a basketball school only. Alabama has 3 SEC wins as of, I guess, Saturday, whenever they beat who'd they play?
Yep. And we beat them
Georgia.
by like
Yeah.
50.
They now have they have 3 SEC wins of 40 plus points this season, making them the first team to do that since Kentucky in 1955. So Alabama is, they seem like they're for real. I don't know though, because they lost to Tennessee. So, and
All
Tennessee's
right.
losing to
And
everybody.
finishing up with college basketball, we've already talked about most of our games. The only one we didn't really talk about much,
Yeah.
Purdue versus Maryland. I watched this one.
Yep.
So Purdue was starting to get a lead in the second half, right? Purdue gets a tech. And then
Mhm.
after that, Maryland went on a 29-2 run. It was insane. I was just like, it was at
Jeez.
some point I was like, all right, Purdue's got to score and get back in this. And Maryland just kept scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. And it was insane to watch. Maryland just
But
took full control of the game, and Purdue had no chance. It was wild.
yeah. Just listen to this point distribution for Purdue. Their forward first, 0 points. Zach Edey, 18 points. Braden Smith, 18 points. Lawyer, 6. Morton, 0. And then their bench only scored
Yeah,
12 points
you
total.
can't win a game like that.
Yeah, this is the best team in the
Yeah.
supposedly the best team in the country, or at least they have been basically all season. And they're doing that against Maryland.
Yeah, it was a shocker for sure, which is I would assume they are no longer number one. Because I mean that's just not that's not a game you play if you're number one. You shouldn't lose like that.
No,
All right,
absolutely
now
not.
we've already reviewed our game of the weeks from last week. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Alabama, Tennessee?
I don't think so. It's just weird.
Yeah. All right. You want to go first?
I do. Actually, let me pull it up. My game of the week is this Saturday in West Lafayette. I don't know if I said that right according to the Hoosiers here, but IU at Purdue, baby. Should be another crazy intense matchup. Like we said, Purdue is in the lead. IU really doesn't have a chance, I don't think, unless some crazy stuff goes down to win the conference in the regular season. But this is going to be a big matchup. What date am I looking for? Sorry, found it. Yeah, wow. 7:30 on Fox, Mackey Arena. Right now, Purdue is predicted to win it at about 75%. But I expect it just to be another big matchup between Zach Edey and Trace Jackson Davis. Both of them are the guys for those teams. So whoever plays better. And, of course, it's at Purdue, so that's where you would assume, to lean. But, yeah, if you want tickets for this one, they are as low as $458. So get in
All right.
for cheap.
Moving on to mine.
Yeah.
We both went to college basketball this week. There wasn't really much else out there at this moment in time. A few soccer games maybe, but maybe an XFL if you're feeling frisky. But my game of the week is to the Big 12 on Saturday. We got number 8 Texas going to number 9 Baylor. And this is going to be a huge game for both teams. Baylor lost to Kansas on Saturday. Like I said earlier, got dominated in the second half. I think both teams could use a win over a top team like this, kind of to put them on track. I mean, Texas is haven't they kind of struggled as of late? I feel like, I mean, they did lose their coach, but they lost to Texas Tech last week and beat Oklahoma in overtime. So yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But that
It's
game
scary.
should be a great game to watch. I think it'll be back and forth the whole time. Baylor has a 61% chance to win, according to the ESPN matchup predictor. Um, those are
And how much can we
$130.
get into that
So
game for?
I know, yeah. Number 8 versus number 9,
What?
$130. That's pretty crazy.
Okay.
Let's do it. I mean,
You
might
want
as
to go to
well.
Texas?
It doesn't seem as though they have the channel on here yet, so I assume it'll be on one of the ESPN networks, if I had
Mm,
to assume. But they don't
you
have
would
it on there. It'll be
imagine.
at 2 o'clock, so you can watch that one,
Yeah.
get a little break, and then you got Indiana Purdue at 7:30, right? Yeah. And then if you needed something in
Yep.
between, you got MLS action. It will be starting up. I will be watching the Charlotte FC match against the New England Revolution. Premier League in the morning and on Sunday as
Beautiful.
well. I mean, you got all kind of sports going
Beautiful.
on. XFL, can't forget that. And
Yeah. If you need another game to watch,
who is
who
it?
is it? I believe on the women's side,
Ooh,
IU plays at Iowa, so you get number 2 versus number 7, Mackenzie Holmes versus Caitlin Clark. That'd be an amazing game. I know I'll be keeping my eye
let me
on
make
that
things
one.
clear.
So
Duke versus Louisville tonight. Duke loses, it'll be hard to show my face. Yeah,
you should
it's
be
not that I think
terrified.
they'll lose, but just the possibility of it happening is frightening. Um,
Hey,
hey,
South Carolina won a
somehow,
game.
somehow.
Somehow they didn't throw it away.
All right, I think that about wraps it up. Got any
Hmm.
last words, Zach? All right, we'll
Blessings
see
to
you
you
next
all.
week with a recap of our games this week and a brand new game to watch for next week. Bye.
Woo! Bye.